Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra of Vayishlach, and we're dedicating our learning to the safe release of the two remaining hostages in Gaza and the safety and success of all of the soldiers in the IDF as they continue their dangerous missions to protect the people of Israel and the land of Israel. And when we're looking at the Sedra of Vayishlach, and we have the recurring theme that we've mentioned, that the all of these sedras in the book of Bereshis can be based on the phrase that Ma'aseh Avot Siman Labanim, that what has happened to the fathers is a sign of what will happen. This is like a prophecy for the children. And in the meeting, because the Sedra opens with the very dramatic countdown to the meeting between Yaakov and Esau, and this has been brewing and now that it's actually coming to a head, Esau is marching towards Yaakov with 400 men, and generally if you're looking for an amicable reconciliation with your estranged brother, you don't need 400 big burly bodyguards, especially when you're big and burly yourself. So all of the physical signs are indicative of a very violent confrontation. And this is something that worries, distresses Yaakov very deeply. And in this image that we have of what Yaakov is confronting on the outside and the inner impact that it has on him, his insecurities, and there is something so human as that we can see as he overcomes. And there's also connections, as today is the 12th day. Today I'm recording this on Tuesday, and it's the 12th day of Kislev. We're going towards Hanukkah, and we read this Sedra in the month of Kislev, and there is a connection to the certain ideas and themes with the month of Hanukkah in a way that only the Torah can transcend times and themes and weave everything together into one glorious whole. And as we are looking at Yaakov's reactions, he famously decides on a strategy, which is a three-pronged strategy. He prepares gifts to placate. He's trying to avoid war. He then prays, and then he prepares for actual war. He divides the camp. And this three-part strategy, again, is something that we can learn from throughout the ages as a battle tactic. But the focus at the moment actually is on building up a picture of the kind of wealth that Yaakov had. And we'll see how this connects to the themes of Hanukkah and also the themes of how we live our daily lives. And if we look towards the beginning of the Sedra, that Yaakov is preparing this incredible gift. So it starts, we'll have a look. Vayolen Shom, that is chapter 32, verse 14. Vayolen Shom balayla hahu, and he lodged there that night. Vayikach min habar biyodo, and he took from what had come into his hand mincha le'esov ochiv, a gift. I've got translated here a tribute to Esau, his brother. And the rabbis actually criticize Yaakov for being overly groveling towards Esau, and this is something that we use as a template in our relationships with the non-Jewish world as the Bnei Yisrael, which is the name that Yaakov will acquire later on in this week's Sedra. And this level of groveling is criticized, and something that we can learn from, that yes, diplomacy is a good thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to debase yourself, and that is an important point. But the point of Yaakov's wealth, as we're seeing this picture, because this word mincha is translated by Onkelos, famous commentator on the Torah, as an hors d'oeuvre, if you like. That this is like a tiny little a little something for his brother Esau. What is this little something that Yaakov is giving? So she goats 200 and he goats 20. Ewes, female sheep 200 and rams 20, nursing camels and their young 30, cows 40 and bulls 10, she donkeys 20 and he donkeys 10. And then he put in his servants' charge each herd separately and said to his servants, pass on ahead of me and put a space between herd and herd. And he's doing that so that the visual impact, instead of one huge total of all of these animals, we have a break, and then it is giving an impression of an even larger quantity than if it would be all together. So a rabbi was talking, and he said that he had gone to the bank, and it was in Israel, and he was standing in the queue, and the bank manager called him over, and it was the week of Vayishlach, of this week's Sedra, and he says, I want to work out how much this gift that Yaakov sent to Esau was worth in today's money. And he phoned up the various farmers and herdsmen who keep these kind of animals today, and he got the value of what that would come to roughly in today's money. And they calculated that the value of this incredible gift was about 2 million shekel. This mincha, this little appetizer, so to speak, this tiny dent in Yaakov's wealth, all together with manservants, maidservants, a whole retinue, really almost an empire of sorts that Yaakov has built up. And so when we actually reflect on the kind of the kind of retinue, the household that Yaakov was leading, it makes what happens a bit later even more exceptional. And what I'm referring to is, as Yaakov is trying to prepare on these three levels for the meeting with Esau, the gifts and prayer and dividing up the camp, he then realizes that he has left small jars behind. And we have here, okay, so if we go to chapter 32, verse 23. Vayikach es shtei nashov, he took two of his wives, es shtei shivchosov, and two of his maidservants, and es achados yeladim, and his 11 children, vayavar es mavar yabok, and he put them, he crossed the ford of Yabok, vayikachem vayavrem es hanachal, and he took them and brought them across the stream, vayaver es hashelo, and he brought across all that was his. So that was quite a task. And then Vayivase Yaakov levado, and Jacob was left alone. Vayeovek ish imo, and a man wrestled with him ad alos ashacha, until the break of dawn. And this is the very famous Rashi that talks about. And Jacob was left, Vayivase Yaakov, Shachach Pachim Ketanim. He had forgotten some small jars, V'chazar Alehem, and he returned and went back for them. And so we see, and that these Pachim Ketanim, these little jugs, according to the Maharshal, they become the symbol for the reward that, just like Yaakov showed such great respect for these small jars, that we are going to later on have the miracle of Hanukkah that will come from one small jar that remains uncontaminated, one small jar, a pach katan of oil, olive oil, that is going to be used for the miracle of Hanukkah. And when we reflect on the kind of household that Yaakov was leading, so why on earth does he not send somebody else? We understand that he doesn't want to just let his property, say, oh, it doesn't matter, I've got plenty, I'll forget about it. He doesn't have to say that. But equally, why does he have to put his life in danger? We see that he is alone, it's dark, everybody else has been safely herded elsewhere, and he is putting himself in a position of danger in order to retrieve these small vessels. He could have easily sent one of his servants. Why didn't he? And this is something that brings our attention to the value of small things, the value of small things in our relationship with Hashem, in how every word that we say, every action that we do, that sometimes if somebody is called to rise to an occasion, in an exceptional circumstance, they may find that adrenaline, that courage, and be able to do it. But to be able to maintain that level of connection and commitment to Hashem in the small things, in the daily instances, that is another kind of challenge. And in our relationship with other people, again, understanding that a word here, a kind word here, a small gesture there. Never underestimate the importance of those small things. Never think, oh, that's something that I can delegate to someone else. When you show that something has value to you, that you are doing it yourself, and you're not going to ask your driver to go and do it. That is taking it right up the ladder to the top level, even though it might be some small a small detail can have a huge impact. And this is something that when we are looking at the whole picture of the wealth of Yaakov and the way he is confronting this huge challenge of meeting Esau, and all of the emotions that he's going through in anticipation of this challenge, and how he doesn't neglect and how he doesn't delegate, how he actually shows the value and importance that he attaches to everything in his life, that Rashi, as he goes on to say, that that tzaddikim treat their possessions with such great importance, not because they are materialistic, but because they see everything as a gift from Hashem. Everything has a value that they can use in their service of Hashem. And in this way, we see the connection between Yaakov's, on the face of it, surprising behavior in this case, and the connection with the miracle of Hanukkah, where again it was the small the miracle of the small jar of oil, the miracle of every aspect of our dedication and service to Hashem, that we should never think that something is small so it doesn't matter. And in this way, we are able to really absorb this concept of Maser Avos Siman Labanim, that we've got a real-time lesson from our fathers and mothers in the book of Bereshis, and we are able to elevate our daily lives by learning all of this and absorbing the messages. Wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for listening.